Clay just tested 13 email finders on 5,000 real contacts across 15 European countries. They ranked every single tool by data, coverage, and one tool came out on top by a large margin. Let's break down the results. If you've ever tried to find work emails at scale, you know the problem. Every provider is claiming 95% accuracy, and none of them actually agree on what accuracy really means. And when you actually get those emails, you then get bounces and a lot of catch-alls and dead ends. This is exactly why testing matters in a real marketplace. Clay is a neutral platform and they integrate all of these tools. And they're actually partnering with the Killen agency to run an independent benchmark. This is no provider that funded it, and there's no provider that controlled the data or the methodology to this test. As it happens, FindEmail ranked #1. But I'm not here to say we're the best, but I'm actually here to show you data, and I want to walk you through exactly how Clay tested these tools, like what exactly the numbers mean, where each tool does good and then actually falls short, and everything in between. You can obviously check the full data out for yourself. Everything will be in the description down below for you. Before we look at any results, we want to understand exactly how this benchmark really ran the test, because methodology is what actually makes the benchmark. And it's obviously a different, more data-driven benchmark than the regular trust me bro that you guys see on social media all the time. Here's exactly what Clay did. They took about 5,000 VP and C-suite contacts across 15 different European countries. So UK, Germany, France, Spain, Switzerland, Netherlands, Nordics, Belgium, Austria, and Poland. And you might be asking why Europe specifically. It's because they're finding emails in Europe is actually a lot harder, believe it or not, than the US. GDPR laws actually make data more scarce, and company domains are harder to come by and they're more fragmented. And a lot of tools that work really well for US contacts actually fall into pieces when they cross the Atlantic. So this is basically a stress test, if anything. They fed each of the tool these 3 inputs: first name, last name, and company name, and nothing else. No LinkedIn URLs, no extra signals, just the exact basics. Now here's the part that's actually clever. To verify whether the emails were actually real or not, Clay ran a separate benchmark of 10 email verification services using 9,500 emails from the actual campaigns, which is emails they already knew had bounced or gotten replies. From that, they picked the 5 best verifiers and used those to classify every email returned by the 13 different finders, and each email got sorted into 3 different buckets. Invalid, so personal emails, which mean wrong company or anything flagged as bad by 4 or more verifiers. The other one is valid, so confirming by at least 2 verifiers that this email is legit. And the other one is ultra valid, so confirmed by 4 or more verifiers, and this is obviously the gold standard. So then they calculated a confidence score: ultra valid emails times 70% plus, valid times 30%. And so the scoring heavily rewards emails that multiple verifiers agree are good, hence the percentage-wise and confidence score. Now you might notice that FindEmail is one of those 5 verifiers, and as you might think, isn't this a conflict of interest? It's actually the exact opposite. So Clay ran a complete separate benchmark just for email verification tools, testing 10 verifiers against the 9,500 emails from real campaigns where they already knew which ones bounced and which ones got replies. And as you know, FindEmail ranked first on that benchmark too, with a 98.92% accuracy on top 100% coverage. That's why Clay picked us as one of the 5 verifiers, and it tells you something about how email finding and email verification are actually connected. If a tool can verify emails on a very predictable basis and accurately, it can have a better understanding of which emails are real in the first place, and those two are not separate skills. They're built on the same underlying data and infrastructure and foundations. And actually, this brings up an important nuisance that about 90% of the quality score. And that number does not mean 10% of the emails FindEmail returned were invalid, and here's exactly why. The Clay consensus method works. An email only counts as ultra valid if 4 or more verifiers agree it's good, and valid if 2 or more agree. But what happens when FindEmail finds an email that's correct and only 1 or 2 other verifiers can actually confirm it? It gets scored lower or not counted at all, even though the email is perfectly fine. This is especially common with harder to verify email addresses. So European contacts, smaller companies, newer domains, and FindEmail's verification technology can validate emails other verifiers simply can't reach. So the consensus method actually penalizes the tool with the best verification because its coverage extends beyond what the other verifiers can actually confirm. The real world accuracy is almost certainly higher than 90%, but even with that, that conservative scoring, FindingMail still came out number one. Okay, so now you know exactly how the test was compiled. So now let's get into the actual rankings and how some of these results are genuinely surprising. Here are the 13 tools by data quality. At number one, FindingMail, 90.05% data quality, 83.79% coverage, and half a credit per lookup. And number two was Hunter, 89.56% quality. So close on the quality, but their coverage drops to 47.62%. That means Hunter finds fewer emails, but the ones it finds are almost as accurate as ours. Number three is Prospeo at an 88.89% quality and a 40.11% coverage. Same price as FindingMail at half a credit, but the coverage gap is big. You're getting good emails, just not that many of them. Fourth is Kit AI at 88.46% quality and 61.81% coverage. Fifth is Datagama at 87.38% quality and 47% coverage, and actually the cheapest on all four list at 0.4 credits. Then in sixth place, we have Better Catch at 86.82% quality, 76% coverage. Wizzy as seventh at 85.53% quality and 76% coverage. And these two are interesting because their coverage is decent, but the quality starts to dip below the top five. ICPs is number 8th, so in row 9th, and Drop Contact 10th, all hovering in the 80 to 85% quality range. And then you have the bottom five, Full and Rich at 76.92%, Zeleek at 76.88%, and SmartE at 75.50%. SmartE also costs 6 credits per lookup, which is 12 times of what FindingMail actually charges. So that's the raw data, but rankings alone don't tell you what tool to actually use because there's a trade-off buried in these numbers that most people actually end up missing. See, if you just go ahead and pick up the tool with the highest quality score, you might be leaving a lot of valid emails on the table. And if you pick up one with the highest coverage, you might be sending a bunch of bad addresses. And the relationship obviously between these two metrics is where things get really, really interesting. Look at this scatter plot. Most cluster tools are in one of two zones. You've got high quality, low coverage tools like Hunter and Prospeo on the upper left. They're picky. They only return emails they're confident about, so their numbers look great, but they miss a lot of contacts. Then you've got high coverage and low quality tools like ZeliQ and Full and Rich in the lower right. So they return an email for almost anyone, but more of the emails oftentimes are actually wrong. The ideal is upper right, high quality and high coverage. And FindingMail is the only tool that sits there with 90% quality and 83% coverage. The next closest on that combination is Better Contact with an 86.82% quality and a 76% coverage. So about 3% points lower on a quality and 7 points lower on a coverage. Why does this matter? Do the math. If you're prospecting 10,000 people, with FindingMail, you get roughly 8,370 emails and 90% are valid. That's about 7,530 usable contacts. And with Hunter, you get roughly 4,760 emails at an 89.5% quality rate. And that's only about 4,260 usable contacts. And with ZeliQ, you get roughly 8,515 emails at 76.9% quality. And that's about 6,548 usable contacts. But the 23% that are bad will damage your sender reputation. So the best tool actually isn't the one with the highest accuracy percentage. It's the one that gives you the most valid emails per dollar spent without trashing your domain. Speaking of dollars, let's talk about what these tools actually cost because the price differences are bigger than you actually think. The benchmark lists cost per lookup and credit, but cost per lookup is the number that matters. What matters is cost per valid email found. So let me break this down for you. FindingMail at 0.5 credits per lookup on an 83.79% coverage with 90.5% quality. So for every credit, you get about 1.5 valid emails. Hunter, 2 credits per lookup, so 47.62% coverage and an 89.56% quality. And for every credit, you get about 0.21 valid emails. Prospeo of 0.5 credits per lookup and 40.11% coverage, 88.89% quality. For every credit, you're getting about 0.71 valid emails for that. And finally, Datagama at 0.4 credits per lookup on a 47.17% coverage and 87.38% for quality. For every credit, you're getting about about 1.3 emails. On pure efficiency, FindEmail gets you about 7 times more valid emails per credit than Hunter and about twice as many as Datagama. So those are numbers, but I know the question you're probably asking is what should I do for my specific situation? Here's my honest take. If you mostly prospect in the US and send low volume, a lot of these tools work just fine. Based on the test, the quality differences obviously shrink when you're dealing with strictly US-based contacts at well-known companies. But if you do any of the following, the gap matters a lot more. You prospect in Europe. So this benchmark was specifically designed for European contacts, and that's where the cheaper tools actually break down. Use Send at Scale. At 5% difference in bounce rate, doesn't really matter if you're sending 100 emails a month. It matters a lot if you're sending 10,000 emails a month. Or you strictly care about deliverability. Sending to bad emails doesn't only just waste your time, it obviously damages your sender reputation as a marketer, which hurts the delivery of all your emails, including the ones to valid email addresses. For those use cases, the data is obviously clear here. You want a tool in the top 5 quality that doesn't sacrifice coverage. And right now, there's only one tool that gives you both. All that data I just walked through is obviously public, and you can go look it up for yourself. Clay actually published the full benchmark and methodology of how they went about going through this process. I'll link both in the description down below so you can check every number for yourself. If you want to try FindEmail, there's obviously a free trial, no credit card needed. You can test it on your own contact list and see how the results compare to whatever you're currently using right now. Obviously, the link for that is down below. And if you found this breakdown somewhat valuable or useful in any sense, please let me know in the comment section down below what tools you're currently using and what's been working for you.